I don't get that, and when I talk about it, it pisses me off. What's up, guys? As I mentioned, I wanted to do a video specifically addressing judges' feedback during bodybuilding competitions. And I'm gonna speak from my personal experience from my most recent competitions, but it really got me thinking about this topic. I just wanted to throw it out there for those of you who are competitors, and maybe you're not competitors, maybe you're just athletes and you've gotten critiqued before in the gym and whatnot. So I just kind of want to talk to that a bit. Most recently at this last show, I did the WNBF show. The only critique that I heard back from, 2 judges was to work on my posing and my stage confidence, making sure that I was noticed on stage and that I owned the stage and as a pro really showed off confidently. So that was really good feedback, I felt like, and I took that feedback very seriously, and I took that feedback so seriously that I decided I wanted to compete again in 3 more weeks, because I really felt like it was important for me to capitalize on that feedback and on that cutting phase I just had and focus on improving that, because I agreed with the feedback and I wanted to show that I can pose better than that. So with that being said, I went into my NGA show most recently, and I shared with you guys on one of my most recent videos, if you watched it, that I received judges' feedback from that show, very specific feedback that I, needed to gain quite a bit of muscle, and the judge was very specific, saying I needed to have a long off season and gain 7 pounds of muscle, and I needed to gain muscle specifically in my lower lats, in my delts, in my quads, in my glutes and hamstrings. So that's kind of like a tall order right there, right? It's basically like, hey, change your entire body, please, before you show up again. And also that I needed to diet down a bit more and probably lose a few more pounds to be on stage. And then the other feedback there too was posing was pretty decent. That was very specific feedback from this judge. And I knew going into it, like, I asked for judges' feedback because I was curious. I wanted to see what they were going to say, especially due to the placing, since both competitors that beat me had much more muscle than I did. So I assumed that the critique was going to be that they felt like I didn't have enough muscle, but I was interested and I truly wanted to know what else they saw, or maybe they saw something positive there. I didn't really get much of that, but it's always good to ask, right? So with that being said, it kind of made me think about the fact that I've been competing a long time, you guys. I've been competing for like 5+ years. And when I first started competing, if a judge told me I needed to gain muscle here, or I needed to come in leaner, or I needed to do this, I would have taken that as the holy grail. Like, okay, that is 100% truth. That's what I need to do. I need to do exactly what this judge tells me and appease the judge without any other factors considered. I think it's really important to get judges' feedback, okay? But I think it's more important to know what you want to work on. So what I want you to think about before you even ask for judges' feedback, to know in your own mind, and write it out, what you think you need to work on. Think about what you brought to stage and what you want to improve. I'm constantly critiquing myself, and yes, we're our worst critics, right? And sometimes I'm too hard on myself, but I think I have a pretty good eye for bikini, and I've always been honest with myself about what I bring to stage. These past 2 competitions, I know that wasn't my best package. It wasn't, and I believe I can be leaner. That's my feedback of myself. I could be leaner, and I feel like I could fine-tune my posing a touch more so I don't move around too much. But again, it depends on the organization I'm competing in. Different organizations are going to have different opinions and different feedback for you. But I think you need to know first what you want to work on. Evaluate yourself first. Because the judge's feedback, so maybe you're going to get 1 judge's feedback, or maybe all 7 or 8 of them will reply to you. They may all have different opinions. They may all confuse the shit out of you, because one may tell you you need to be leaner, and someone else may tell you, you looked perfect, honey, don't change a thing. So you begin to get very confused, like, what do I do? What do I need to work on? And I got a little confused when I read that email, because I knew what I wanted to work on. And then all of a sudden I started doubting myself, like, do I really need to gain 7 pounds of muscle? I'm a little confused. I'm a natural competitor. I'm a bikini competitor. I'm not figure. I'm not sure if you knew that or not, but this is the bikini division, sir. And I'm not salty. I'm really not. I agree I need to make improvements. However, I disagree highly with gaining 7 pounds of muscle. That's preposterous if you even understand science. I am a small little lady. I'm a natural little lady, and I have taken some damn time to build the muscle that I have on this body. It's taken me a while. I'm not noodle lifting, so to gain 7 pounds of muscle at this stage of my life, I'm not 21 years old, I'm not noodle lifting, it's not really realistic for me to gain 7 pounds of muscle. Not saying it couldn't happen, but it would probably take me like 10 years to do or something. I took this past year off, and I think I gained maybe 1 to 2 pounds of true dry lean mass. I guess it can be very confusing if you think about the judges' feedback. I think about last year when I turned pro, I got feedback from more than one judge, and the judges at that show that I turned pro at are they frequently judge shows. They're great judges. I feel like it was a great judging panel, and maybe you think I'm biased, but I have seen those judges at the Yorton Cup, at Gaspari. They judge a lot of competitions. I took their feedback very seriously, and they literally all told me not to change a thing, that I had the perfect balance, the right symmetry for bikini, that my posing looked good, that everything looked great. Obviously, I really appreciate that feedback, and for me, the goal is to always come in tighter and I will always want to gain a little more delt, okay? I have a small upper body, and it's hard for me to gain mass in my upper body, and that's always a goal of mine. And it's always a goal of mine to continue to shape the glutes and hamstrings, of course. But I refuse to believe that I can't be competitive with the current state of muscle mass that I have. I think I just need to be leaner. That's my critique of myself. I need to be leaner, and my posing needs to be like perfect, okay? It needs to be on point. There can't be any errors there. It needs to be perfectly displayed. So I say all this because I want you to remember, if a judge gives you feedback, don't feel bad about yourself. And it's hard because sometimes the judge's feedback can hurt your feelings. It can be really upsetting, right? You just dieted so hard. You've probably looked the best you've ever looked before. Maybe it's your first competition, and then you get some J-hole emailing you trying to explain to you what lower body conditioning means, like you don't know that. So depending on the judge and how they handle you and what feedback they get, it can be really upsetting. It can feel like it can really take a toll on your self-esteem, and that's where bodybuilding is a rough sport. You have to be prepared to handle being judged and to be picked apart at your best physique yet. That's tough. That's a lot to swallow. It's hard to hear, regardless of how tough you are and how confident you are. It can be really hard to hear when you've, have worked so hard that you have so much to improve upon. So I say all this because I want you guys to be mindful that think about the bigger picture in life, okay? Don't live your life based on what one judge tells you or what 2 judges tell you. Think about your own body and how you want it to look and how you want it to feel and what you like. If there's certain things that you want to change, then work on changing those. Don't worry about trying to appease that one or two judges, because guess what? If you do go to compete again, you may not be in front of the same judging panel, and they could tell you the exact opposite. That's the unfortunate part. It's very subjective, especially with bikini, in my opinion. It's the most subjective out of all of them. There's no standards there whatsoever. So it gets really confusing, super confusing, and I think that's a big part of what screws with girls' self-esteem post-show, and really makes them start to hate themselves and view themselves negatively. And I've had a lot of girls tell me they never had issues with self-esteem before, and then they competed, and all of a sudden they're constantly ripping themselves apart for their body. So you guys, this is a tough sport. So when you go to ask for judges' feedback, please be cautious with it. I've done shows where I haven't asked for feedback because I know what I need to work on, and I don't want it. I've done other shows where I've gotten really good feedback. I remember doing one show when I was doing NPC still, and I was told because of my dark hair, I was wearing a darker colored suit, and they recommended I wore red. You know, that was her recommendation to me, like that I looked good on stage, maybe come in a touch tighter, and I'd love to see you in a color that made you pop more. And she was so right, and I wore that red, and it was like, woo! I was a bombshell, right? I stood out, I won first, and it was great. So you do get some good feedback. It's just, you have to be able to be ready to handle it, and to know what you want as a person, to know what will make you happy, and not let feedback like that make you hate yourself. And I honestly think it does sometimes. And to keep, rambling about it, I think the judges are just not sure what they want in bikini, and it kind of pisses me off, especially making the transition. Like, I stopped doing NPC because I'm like, why am I doing NPC when it's not a level playing field? Like, I'm a natural athlete, and I'm not saying all bikini girls in NPC do drugs. I don't think they all do, but some definitely do. For those of you out there that were unaware, they definitely do. So I'm like, why don't I go to natural, And I loved it. I loved the OCB shows that were promoted locally. They were well run, so I was happy to make the switch. And I know it sounds like I'm salty, but it pisses me off to be a natural athlete that's consistently placed high. I've consistently placed first in all my amateur shows, and now that I'm a pro, to be told I need to gain 7 pounds of muscle, it feels like a slap in the face. What are you telling me to do right now? Because it honestly tells me you are looking for a figure competitor, and they should be 2 separate divisions. And for whatever reason, in natural organizations, they allow crossover. They allow bikini competitors to do figure and vice versa, and onward with the other categories. And I just have never understood that nor agreed with it. But I choose to compete in natural, so it is what it is. It comes with the territory. But it sucks because I feel like you're asking me to be a figure competitor when I'm sitting here as a bikini pro, and I want to represent what bikini should look like. And so I don't get that. And when I talk about it, it pisses me off. But again, in my head, I'm like, that's one judge's feedback, Kara. I only got one judge's feedback. All the other judges could have said, honey, you look great. Maybe just tighten it up a bit. You know what I'm saying? So you can't take that one judge's feedback and let it dictate your goals or dictate your next move. Think about what you want to do, and don't let anyone else stop you from that, So for me, I'm in this period of thinking about what my next move is going to be, and what I want to work on next, and what show I want to focus on, and what organization. With natural, you can compete in different organizations. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go yet or what I'm going to do, but I wanted to make this video so you guys had a better understanding and just kind of think about the bigger picture. Don't get bogged down with one judge's feedback. I've done it before. I won't do it to myself again, but I want you guys to be aware of it and just think about it. I think about too when I'm prepping. For example, if I go to the gym, I could have 5 different people who know I'm doing a competition, and they'll all say, you know what, honey, you really need to work on this. You should really be doing more plyos, or you should really be going way heavier on leg extension, or you really shouldn't be doing leg extension at all. You get 5 different opinions from 5 different people, and the same is true with the judge's feedback. You're going to get different opinions from everyone. So really think about what you want to work on. Be honest with yourself with what you think needs to improve. If you prepped and you feel like you really were too loose on your diet, be honest with yourself. And know that next prep, you're going to focus more on tightening up your diet, and that'll probably yield better results with your body. Or know that you kind of neglected working enough glutes and lower body, and that's an area you do want to build, and focus on that. So think about your own goals, focus on you, and don't let that feedback bog you down. Use it as constructive criticism if it's valid, but sometimes it's not valid. I've had clients email me judges' feedback that I 100% feel they didn't even look at her picture. My girl with delts galore and quad sweep galore, and the feedback was, you need a little more delt. that judge didn't look at you. He gave you a generic email. And I believe that some NPC judges, or other judges, not just NPC, but I believe some judges don't remember who they looked at. They maybe don't take good notes on show day, and they may not remember you, honestly. They see a lot of people, and I've been on the judges' side, and there's a lot of people, and it's a lot to take in, and there's some people you almost don't, like, you kind of miss. I'm gonna be honest with you. So be careful with how seriously you take this feedback, because I told my client, I said, I don't think that judge, did you send him a picture? Because I don't think he knew who he was looking at. That feedback is ridiculous. And she agreed with me, so we weren't worried about it. So just know that too, that these judges sometimes have how many hundreds of people emailing them for feedback. They literally could create a standardized bikini email that they shoot off to all the bikini girls. Makes their life easier than dealing with 50 emails. So just things to consider. Focus on what you want to change and don't sweat the rest. Have fun with it. If you're going to compete, just have fun with it. If it makes you happy, then do it and have fun with it and screw the rest. So I leave you with that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear some stories below for those competitors. If you feel like you've got some crazy judges feedback, let me know below. Let's talk it out and keep checking back for more.